Okay guys, welcome back to episode 3 I think it is of our space hopper game. So in the previous episode we started working on the platforms that are gonna spawn at the top of the screen and like move from the top to the bottom. We did that, and then we also went and deleted some of them as soon as they reached a certain point. I think it was after 10 seconds of them being instantiated into the scene. So that was working perfectly fine the other day, but I forgot to do something, and that was to add in the colliders so that we can actually jump onto them. So that's the first thing we're going to do today. And then let us have a look and see what else we're going to do today. So this is the plan. Episode 3, we're going to start working on the colliders. And then we're going to change things up, and we're going to start working on the UI. So we're going to add in a pause button to the game. And then we'll also add in a score indicator. And then we will go ahead and start working on incrementing the score whenever you jump onto a platform, and make it like just jump onto the next one and the next one. And every time you jump on a new one, we obviously want to go and increase the score count. So that is what we're going to be doing today. So let us go and jump into Unity. And surprisingly, I don't even know if I opened it. Yeah, there we do. We did. Okay, that's good. Save us some time. So this is where we left off in the previous episode. Let's have a look and see if everything's still working. So we have an astronaut. You can move from left to right, you can jump. You can't collide with the platforms yet, but we'll work on that now. We also need to fix the jump because I suppose it looks pretty cool because it's supposed to be in space and there's not supposed to be any gravity. So he's kind of like floating, but there's a little bit of gravity. We'll see later. Maybe we'll change that, maybe we won't. We'll have a look and see when the game is more complete. But for now, let us go and start working on this platform. So what we're going to do is let's go to the prefab, double click on the prefab of the platform, and then let's go ahead and add in a collider. Which one are we going to use? We'll probably use a capsule collider 2D, just so that we can get the curve. Can you do that, or is it too big? Okay, so you want to do that, but can you rotate a capsule collider? Or maybe we'll have to rotate the platform. Let's see, if we do that 90, no. And then y-axis 90, no. Z-axis, try that. Okay, but no, because then the collider rotates with that. Let's Google that quick and see. So let's see, can you rotate a collider in Unity? When you add a collider command to a game object, you will see that there's no option to rotate the collider any degree you want. You can only rotate it 90 degrees by Y, Z, X axis changes position to scale. Okay, that doesn't help. Actually, what we could do is let's try this. So if we switch to that, can we rotate it like that? No, that rotates the entire thing. So we'll undo that. Let's see, info, constraints, no. Offset, to, wrong one, no. Offset Y, no. Nope. Let's see. Let's add another empty game object of the palm tree. Here's a little bit in 2 colliders. Okay. Okay, I think I know. Okay. So what we want to do is we are going to go and delete that. So remove that off of there. And then we will create a empty game object underneath that, and we'll call this collider, like that. And then we'll add that onto there. and then we will rotate that by 90 degrees on the Z axis like that, and then we can go ahead and scale that up like that. So there we go, that's what we want. So we'll make that roughly the same size as the actual platform. Cool, and that's pretty much all we want. So now let us go back to the platform script. We'll open that up. While that opens, let's go to the game, and we'll play the game and see if we collide with that. We should do, because there is a collider on the astronaut, so we should now be able to jump on them. Yeah, so okay, we also need to fix that. But you can see now that the colliders are working, which is good. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Let's go ahead and fix that first. So we want to go to the astronaut, I think. And on the astronaut, where is it? On the rigid body, we're going to add in some constraints to it. So we want to freeze the rotation, and then freeze the no, we don't want to freeze any of those, because we want it to be able to move from right to left on the x-axis, and then also want it to jump on the y-axis. So let's go and see if that's any better. Let's first of all open this up. Okay, so we'll close that, and then in the platform here we will add in the on collision enter 2D function, where we will tell it what to do whenever we collide with one of the platforms. So on here, let's go on why is it no autocomplete? On collision, and yeah, on collision enter 2D like that. And then in here, let's just go and say debug.log collision like that, so we will be able to see whenever we collide with the platform that it is actually registering it. And then obviously that's how we're going to set the score increment. So whenever we collide with a platform, we're going to go ahead and add 1 point to the player score, and we'll do that in that. Okay, so we need to change that quick. So collision 2D like that, save that, go back, and then we can see if that works. We can get rid of this because we don't need that anymore. So let's take this off quick. So we've added our colliders here to the platform, and then we'll go and start working on the UI. But for now, let's see if this works. So wait for this to load. So now that it's loaded and the game is playing, let's see if it works. So we can jump on there, so nothing gets printed, but you can see that the astronaut is not it's not falling on the side or anything like that. Everything's working, so that's good. Did I save that? I did. Let's get rid of this and say on collision enter 2D like that. Get rid of that. Save that. Actually, I think I know why that's not working. So, because this is not attached to the collider, it's attached to the platform. So what we need to do is we will add its own class on. So we'll cut that out so we can paste it in the other class. So let's go back to our platform here, and then we want to now open it, and then on the collider we'll add in a new script called collider. We'll call this platform, just so we don't get any errors. Platform collider. So we'll create that new script like that. Create and add that. Drag that into our scripts folder, and then we will go ahead and open that up. And then we probably won't need any of that, so I'm just gonna cut it out and paste in the collider method that we just did in the platform class. Instead we'll do it in there. So we'll save that, and then we can jump back to the game and see if that works. It should work now, because this collider is attached to the script that we want. So hopefully that registers the astronaut colliding onto the platform, and we get a message saying collision, I think it was, in the console. So let's see. So if we jump up into there, so yeah, that's working now. So that was why it wasn't working, but now we are registering that collision, so that's good. So let's go out of gameplay mode here, and now we can start working on the UI. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add in a pause button. So let's go and do that. So we'll jump back into the game, zoom out, and then in our hierarchy, let's go right click, go down to UI, and then we'll say button, wherever button is. There it is, button, text mesh pro, like that, and we'll go and import that. Then we should be able to customize this button a little bit. For now we'll just we'll probably just use a button that says pause on it, and then we'll make a button later. So we'll go delete that. And you can see if we double click on our button, or rather our canvas, you can see the button is now in the top, or the bottom left corner. So we'll go and reposition that in the top right corner. So we'll go and do that, move it to top right, and then we'll give it some space between the sides. So let's go -50 by -50. And then let us go and change the text of it to pause, like that. See what that looks like. Okay, we'll probably make that a bit bigger, and then on the x-axis, well, on the y-axis, let's go and say -30, I think. How does that look like? Okay. Or we'll keep it at -50. So let's see, width we want it to be 200 maybe. Oh, that's way too big. 200 by 100. Doesn't look any good. Let's go and say 50. 200 by 50. Or rather 150 by 50. So that looks good. Like I said, we'll probably make like a little mini art thing for this button and replace the text with that. Actually, let's just go do that now. So let's open up Adobe XD. You can probably use whatever art program you like. I use Adobe XD because I'm used to it and I've been using it for a while. It's probably not the best thing to make art in, but that's what I use, so we're going to use it. And it's simple and it's quick. So in here we could probably use the platform by just copy and paste it. So copy and paste that, and then we'll resize it, probably like that. Then we will add in a border to it. But what color do we want the border to be? So I'm actually going to open up the file that I used to create the art for the channel, and I'm going to copy some colors from there. So I just want to get a border color here, so let's change the border color to be red for now, just so we can see it and design it. So let's go 5. Is that big enough? So we'll dismiss that. And then we're going to change this border and the inside, I think, to 2 different blue colors. Just waiting for this to load, so that I'll bring it here so you can see, so that we can get the color codes from it, and we can use that in this project. So this is here. So how do we zoom in? Okay, so these are the colors that we're going to use, and so probably these 2. So we'll copy that, and then where is it? Paste it in here. We'll separate these out so we can see. So let's see which one looks better. So the fill, we'll try the light one, and then the border, we'll try the dark one. and we'll copy and paste that, and then we'll swap them around. So for the border we'll use that one, and then for the fill we'll use the dark one. So we will actually, let's go ahead and we'll make this bigger, like that, with a bigger radius. So let's go about 50 maybe, or maybe even 75, maybe even 100. Okay, so 100, and then we will add in some text to it in the middle, and we'll say pause, that, make that bigger, and then we'll change the font of it to that, and then we will change the color of that to probably white. What does that look like? And then we could probably make it look even better by adding in like a background, so we'll send that to the back, and then we can change the color of it to what color do we want? Red. Let's see, like a greenish color maybe. Actually, maybe let's try to use this color. So we'll copy this color, 42%. And wrong one. We will paste that in here, and we'll use that color as the background, like that. And then we will change the opacity to, what is it, 42 I think. So don't really know if I like that, but we'll leave it like that for now. We'll go ahead and group them, place them in the middle, and then we also need to change the border of this to bigger, so let's go and say about 20, like that. And then we'll copy and paste that, and then we'll do the same thing that we did before, but for the background we will like swap the colors again. So for the border we want the, or for, what is it, wrong one. So for the fill we want the light color, like that. So now we can go and export these, and we can import them into our game and see what they look like. So hopefully we can find the folder that we're using and export them straight into our game. So let's see, game development, Unity game builds, where is it, Space Hopper, assets, art, somewhere in here. Okay, so we will export that in there like that, and we'll do the same thing to that. So group that, and then we'll export that straight into here. Let's go pause button dark, because this has the dark background, and I didn't group these so it didn't export properly, so we'll go and group that, and then we'll export that, and we'll call this, where is it, pause button light, just because it has the light background. And then we can jump back in here, and then we can go ahead and delete our text. So we'll delete that, and then for our button we'll change the image to one of our sprites that we, there it is, so one of these. So we'll try that one. Which one looks better? That one? That one? I don't know. We'll stick with the dark one for now. So let's go and change the width to about 200, and then we'll make the height 100 or 75 maybe, like that. And then we can probably move that to top a bit, like there. So let's go minus 34 by minus 34, like that. So I think that looks pretty decent. We'll see. So now let's go ahead and try and make that button work. So we'll add in another script, and we'll call this UI manager. We can go ahead and open that, and in here let's go and say public void pause. So this, what will happen? So we'll get rid of that, get rid of the parameters because we don't need those. So in here, this is where we're going to go and pause the game. So whenever the pause button is pressed, this method is going to be called. So for now we'll just say debug.log and then we'll print out pause like that just to see if it works. Save that and jump back to the game, and now we need to add in an on click onto this button and we can tell it which method to call. So we click on the button and then where is it? Down here on the button component we have this on click here with the list is empty currently, so let's go and add one in, and then we need to first of all create an empty object here and we'll call this UI manager. Then we can add in our script to this, so let's go UI manager like that. So go back to the button now, and now we can drag in that UI manager onto there. And for the function, let's go down to UI manager and click on the paused function. So let us play the game and see if that works. So hopefully whenever we press this pause button, that method is called and we get paused, or I think it's pause. Yeah, so there we go, that pause method now works, and then whenever we press it, the what's called the pause method is called and it prints out pause for us. So that's good. So instead of printing out pause, what we want to do is we want to go and say time dot, I think it's time dot delta, what is it, time dot time scale, I think it is time dot time scale is equal to 0, so pause the game. Cool. So let's see if we try that again. This should pause the game, but then obviously if it does, we have no way of unpausing it at the moment. So let's see what happens. So now we should no longer get a pause method, pause, what's it called, pause string, no, not pause string, a pause debug logged in our console. So let's go and hit play. And now, as soon as we press the pause button, you'll see that the what is called, our platforms will stop, and so will the player movement. So if we press pause, everything stops. I don't know. Yeah. So now we can't move anything because the game is paused. You can see no more platforms have been instantiated into the scene. We can no longer move our astronaut around the scene, and our platforms are no longer moving. So now we need a way to press, I don't know, maybe once we press this pause button, we'll go and replace it with a unpause button, and then we will resume the game. So let's try to do that. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to go and copy this. So we'll copy that, and then instead of pause, we want to go and say unpause. Oh, let's go and say resume. Like that. And then we want to change the bottom one. Like that as well. So we will move that into the middle somewhere. Where is the middle? There. We'll copy that, and then we can just replace this one with the resume. So we'll place that there in the middle, and then we can group them together so that we can export them. Looks like they're already grouped, I think. That one's going to be grouped, so we'll go ahead and export that one. And let's say, what is it, dark? So let's replace the pause with resume, like that, and then this one we can export it. Do the same thing with the light one. So let's replace the pause button light with resume button light. Cool. So jump back into our game, and now they should be in here somewhere, or eventually. So there they are, pause and resume. So what we want to do is we want to, in here, make a reference to both of these. So let's go and say serialized field, game object. No, it's not a game object. I think it's an image. 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 What are we gonna name it? Pause image. And then we also need to import our UI so that we can use image.ui like that. So we got a pause image, and now we want to do the same thing for our resume image like that. And then we'll say in our pause here, we'll say if the timescale time.timescale is equal to 0, then we will say time.timescale is equal to 1, and then we also want to replace the image, but we also need a reference to our button, so let's go and get that. So we'll go, we need to port that. So in here we'll say using text mesh pro like that, and then I think it is text never used a text mesh pro button, so let's see text mesh pro. I think it's that, and we'll just say button, because I think we're only going to have one button, so it doesn't really matter what it's called. So we'll call that button, and then in here we'll say button dot what do we have on it? So we have an image. So let's go and see button dot image, no dot get component image dot sprite is equal to. So if the game is paused, we want to set the game is equal to. Sorry, we want to resume the game, and then we also want to reset the button to say button or to say pause, so that we can pause the game. So in here we'll say pause. What is it? Pause image like that. I think that will work. Does it? So in here we'll say sprite rather, like that. So that should work. And then what we also want to do is we want to say else if time.timescale is equal to 1, we want to do the opposite. So let's go and say time.timescale is equal to 0. So pause the game and then set the button image of the button to equal to resume. So there we go. And we also need to change the from image to sprite so we don't get that error. So I actually have no idea if that's going to work, so let's go see if that works. If it does, it'll be a miracle, but I hope it does. So let's see. Let us jump back into the game and let's play the game. So that button should say play, or should say pause when we start the game, so hopefully it does. Yeah, so it hasn't changed, so that's good. So if we pause the game now, okay, so we haven't really dragged in these objects yet, so let's go and do that first. So we want to drag in our button, which we can't, so then we'll try and figure that out. So we want a pause image, so we'll drag in our pause image, and then we want a resume image. So let's go and try and change this. So let's try and say a button. That, maybe that'll work, hopefully. So let's see. When that loads, we now need to see if we can drag in our button, so we can drag that in there, so we can. So that's perfect. So now let's play the game and see if this works. Hopefully it does, because that means learn something new today, even me. So pause the game and resume it. So that's working nicely. The game is paused, and can we press on it again? So everything is working. So we'll pause the game again, Press resume. That works nicely. So cool. That is working exactly how I wanted it to. Very surprised about that because normally things don't work on the first try. But that's good. So now we can get rid of that because we don't really need that. Don't need those either. So let's jump back into our schedule here and see what's next. So add in a pause button to the game, which we've done. So let us go now and try and add in a score indicator. So what we can do here is we could probably put a score over here in the top left, I think. So let's go do that. So we'll do this in the UI manager again just because it's part of the UI. So in here we'll create another reference. So we'll say serialized field private. We'll call this text. This needs to be text mesh pro. So text, what is it? Text mesh pro like that. Well, no, we need to import that again. Sorry, using. So we'll say using text mesh pro like that. And then we will say this needs to be a, what is it? I think is it text mesh pro UGUI, and then we'll say score like that. So that's good. So and then what we need to do is we actually need to bring back our update method. Do we? Yeah, because we want it to update constantly. So let's go and say update like that. So I'll bring that back, and then in here we will say score dot text is equal to global dot score, which is a class that we will create now. So let's go and say capital G for global dot score because that's going to be the class name. So let's go and create that class, and that is where we're going to store our score. And so we'll create a new C# script and we'll call this global like that, and then we can open that, and then the only thing in here we want is a public static int, and we'll call it score, and we'll set it equal to 0 for the start. So that's good. So if we go back to, if we save this, so we go back to our UI manager, this error should disappear now, hopefully. Okay, so score score dot to string like that. That should fix it. There we go. So now that should take our score and convert it into a text, so we can populate our text with it. So that is good. So now what we need to do is we need to go to our platform collider here, and instead of saying debug.log and printing out the collision, we want to say global dot score plus plus, which means add 1 to the score every time. So that's fine. And then what we want to do is we want to say, or first of all we need to add our text into this, but as I'm doing this I'm thinking there's going to be a problem with this, because every time we collide with the platform it's going to add 1 to the score, and even if we collide with the same platform multiple times it's just going to keep adding 1. So that's something we need to fix in the future. So what we want to do in here on our canvas, we want to add in a text onto it. We'll call this score, and then we will probably just replace that with 0. And now let's see, can we change the font? Do we have a font here? No, we don't. So we'll make that bold. We'll increase the size to about 50, or maybe even bigger. Let's say about 75. And then we are going to go back to our scene, and let's move it up to the left, somewhere here. So what's our button at? Our button is at -34, so we'll put our score at 74. We'll put that like that. So, and then we'll center that in like that. Probably align it to the left like that, I think. So that looks good. We'll go ahead and change the font size to about 65 just so it looks kind of similar to our pause button. And then I think that is pretty much it. So then we can change the color probably of it to, let's go make it this color for now. So we'll choose that color for now. I don't know, we can change it later. But now what we want to do is we want to go to our UI manager, and then we can drag in our score into there so it updates every time we add one to the score. So let's go play that and see. So where is it? So as soon as we collide with one, we get an one added to the score count. So we jump on there. So like I said, as soon as we, like, no matter how many times we collide with a platform, it's always going to add one to it, and that's what we don't want. We only want one to add. We only want to increment it once, no matter how many times you jump on a platform. So that's something we'll fix in the future. So we can go ahead and unpause, or get out of gameplay mode, and we can see what we have left to do. So increment the score whenever the astronaut jumps on a new platform. So we have done that. So we actually have reached the end of this episode. So let us go and save this, and then we can pretty much wrap it up. So yeah, that is very short and easy. I'm not quite sure, it's probably one of the longest video in this scene, or this game. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. So next episode, what do we do next episode? We are going to probably fix the score, probably, so that we only get one added every time you collide with a platform, no matter how many times you collide with it. So we'll do that in the next episode, and no matter, depending on how long that takes, we will probably start working on getting rid of some of the platforms when you jump on them over. So just to make the game harder, you have to only spend a certain amount of time on some of them. So we'll probably make it random just to make the game difficult. But yeah, that's probably it for this episode. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I do appreciate it, and if you like these videos, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, so I will see you in next week's episode 4. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.